Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Manaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course, your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritizing your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode. I'm so excited to have Trienne Topp on this episode. Let me introduce her. So Trienne Topp is a leadership performance coach and restaurant operating partner with 28 years of experience in network marketing, clothing, retail, and restaurant operations. She believes a commitment to personal development, work culture, and service are the three pillars to take business and lifestyle to the next level. Trienne supports women through one-to-one and group-style coaching, corporate training, and mini courses. Trienne hosts a leadership-focused podcast, Be That, Create That, and Facebook community, the Female Leader Headquarters. She lives in Michigan with her husband and two strong-willed blessings, Tegan and Blake. Hi, welcome everyone. So we have Trienne Topp here, and I'm really excited to chat to you today about creating a leadership lifestyle. So please go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners, Trienne.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today. So we actually met through LinkedIn, and I think we've had a couple wonderful conversations. So thank you for having me part of your podcast and YouTube as well. So really, I love to help women try to find out their leadership voice and then use that leadership voice to go to their next level through some personal and professional development. It's almost the feeling of, leadership without a title, how we don't have to be the absolute CEO. We don't have to be the person who's in charge of HR. We don't have to be the training manager in order for us to make an impact. And we can even make an impact as different roles that we think about, as a volunteer in the community, as a mom, as a sister, as an aunt, and different ways that we can show up as a leader and create really leadership from just the space of that is just who I am. And that's part of my personal brand, right? To taking that out into other parts of our lives.
Oh, amazing, Trienne. I love that. So what you're really saying is that we're all leaders in our own way, in our own spaces, wherever they are, whatever that looks like. So it's really bringing leadership into our day rather than us having to think that we need to become a leader and then, create these sort of steps to become that person, which, let's face it, we'll never really think that we are a leader any day, anytime soon, will we?
Right. Or even that person of influence, for those of us that have kids, we're selling to our children all the time. We're influencing them in so many different ways that we don't think about, from the things that they read to the things that they watch, to the people they hang out with, to the words that we use, to the conversations that we're having in our households, and parenting is just I don't want to call it basic because it's definitely different and we're adapting. But that is a form of leadership and influence. And how do you then take that and you make the decision to say, I'm going to be the leader of my family. I'm going to be the leader of the relationships that I have. And just taking each part of our lives and breaking it down and saying, how do I show up as the leader that I want to be and have this life that I create in this moment?
I love that. That is so powerful. And we can make it powerful and as powerful as we want. That's what I'm getting from you. So I'm really finding this super interesting, and I hope that the listeners are too. So tell me, Trienne, what's got you to where you are today, and how did you get to doing what you're doing today? Tell us more about your journey.
Sure. So when I was 18, when I was just coming out of high school, my manager at the time said, I'd really love for you to be a shift supervisor. I was already a trainer for our restaurant at the time. And I had no idea what I was doing as a manager. I had no idea. And I did it really, really poorly. I was the manager who thought that I had to do everything myself, that I needed to be strict and I needed to make sure that everybody's ducks were in a row. And it was my responsibility to make sure all that happened. So there was a lack of productivity and there was a lack of effectiveness when it came to using my entire team. So that went on for probably far too long, being that my major in college, my bachelor's, is in business management. So management and leadership are so different. And once I learned that leadership was more about here we go, this is what the vision is, setting that vision and saying, what do you think we should do to get there? What do you think we should do to get there? And moving everybody together. Where management, it's really about the systems. We are managing the right cogs in the right circles. We are managing the right person in the right position. However, leadership is showing those people what they're able to do in those positions. So as soon as I was able to really flip that switch, it was like this aha moment of the more I can delegate, the more I can develop these people around me, the more that I can train others to do what I do, instead of being afraid that if I train them to do what I do, they're going to take my job.
Yeah.
It was like, take my job. If you become the manager of this store or this restaurant, then that means that I get to do more things, more opportunities show up. So it was a long time in the making. And then once I realized it, it was like this light. And from that moment, and that was in restaurant and in retail. So from that moment, I've been able to really look at a person and go, okay, what is a strength of theirs that I can really help them see and understand and benefit for themselves, that's also then going to benefit the company. And what I love about that is that that works for any team. It works for anybody, any leader, any team, and it betters everyone, not just solely the person in charge or the person who has that responsibility on them.
That's fascinating, Jen. I see how you almost look at the team and are able to dissect that to really figure out what qualities they have and what it is that you need to help nurture them. So
Mhm.
tell me, like, how did you develop these skills? Did you find that there were things in your past and in your life that kind of helped you to realize that you were able to actually do this and you had a natural talent for it?
Yeah, I think it got to a point where people asked me questions all the time. I have this situation going on in this relationship. I have this situation going on at work. What do I do? What would you do? Or it also was I left the restaurant industry and I started into women's fashion retail. And I had people from the restaurant industry coming to see me at the retail, or they would message me and they'd be like, I have this going on. What do I do? And that was when it clicked for me that I was really good at the consulting and the coaching part, because I also coach through asking questions. So I would never say, well, this is what I think that you should do. I would say, well, what have you already tried? Where have you already looked? What tools, what resources, how did they react to that? So it was almost getting the person to feel as though they have come up with that answer themselves and they knew it all along, and that empowered them to do that even more. And I wanted to teach at our local college. So I signed up to do, it was called the service learning class, which was teaching people how they could go and they could serve their community and still get business credit for it and class credit for it, and networking and giving back to their community. So I went to my district manager at the time and I said, in order to do this class that I'd really love to do, I have to work 38 hours instead of 40 hours a week. And she said, well, that absolutely will not work for us. You are supposed to work 40 hours in the store. Gave me the line of, it made my decision to lead myself, my career, and my family so much easier, because I said, okay, well, when I look down the road, this is not what I want to do. It has worked for me right now, but it's not ultimately what I want to do. So I need to figure it out. And that's when I started my own business.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that story. How did you find that courage? That's a huge step, and
Mhm.
like they helped you to make that a no. But it's really difficult as mums, isn't it, to say no to things. And when you already have some security there,
Mhm.
how did you, what was going on for you? Did you have to go away and think about that or take some time?
You know what's funny is that I had been thinking already for quite a while that I felt like I was called to do more and I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I
Right.
really loved my position at the retailer. I really loved my team. It was an easy job for me to do. And I didn't feel challenged. And
Mhm.
even when I did try to challenge myself, I still kind of felt like my district leader at the time wanted me to stay right where I was so that I could take care of our district rather than moving up in any way. And I'm a person who likes to move up, and
Mhm.
have more responsibility. So when that decision came across the table, luckily my husband was in a financial position that he was able to keep us stable until I could get some other things in the work, which was wonderful. Our children were young, so it wasn't going to affect their after school lifestyle that much. And if anything else, it actually made it easier for me to attend everything that they needed, their mom or their dad or whatever to attend,
Mhm.
which I'm so blessed to have had that. Um, but I also think that you get to a point where one pain, one uncomfortableness outweighs the other. And so my daughter is dealing with allergies right now, and she will not take pills. She will not drink any liquids. She does not do shots. No oils, nothing. And I said, at some point, you're either going to get tired of having allergies, so you will take a little bit of medicine and you'll try some new things, or you will just allow yourself to be in this uncomfortable muck until the allergies pass. And it's the clearest way that I can explain it is one of those two pains is
Yeah.
going to outweigh the other until you
Mhm.
make a decision. And I just had to make the decision. And was it scary? Absolutely. But I think what's even more scary is a year from now saying, I wish I would have done that.
And staying in the same place, doing the same things, and still feeling like you weren't achieving and fulfilling your dreams as well.
Mm.
I love that. So what advice would you give to others? As you know, this channel is for mums in business, and we are leaders in our own way, and quite rightly, how you've explained at the beginning, that was a great way to bring that home, that message that we are all leaders in our own way. But how can mums in business step up and create more of that leadership lifestyle? Because they might not realize they're doing it, but there will be things they can do to certainly improve it and make it more impactful.
Absolutely. And I think one of the main things that I suggest to my clients the first time or anyone who's trying to balance some of these things is first of all that balance is not 50-50 for everyone. It's not even 75-25. Balance is a feeling that you are not being overwhelmed or overstretched in the different areas that are in your life. So, the first thing that I would suggest for people is to set that intention for the different areas and to set their priorities. I feel like if I time block my priorities, then I always know that the things that I feel like are the most important are going to get done or going to get the attention that they need. And then I might time block time with my family at night, which sounds crazy, but if I don't intentionally put that time, will I make a online business interview? Will I say, yes, I'll go teach a class? Will I, whatever the thing is that could take me away from having those relationships and playing board games and making dinner and playing outside and whatever. If I don't set those intentions and create those priorities, then other things will leak in and take that space. So that what I say would be number one. Number two, I would say is I do something called the tonight for tomorrow list that makes me feel when I get up the next day that I've not only slept well because I know what I'm expecting, but then when I get up in the morning, Blake has softball practice and volleyball practice tonight. So both bags are by the back door and ready to go with full water bottles. I have the snacks planned out. I know what time I'm picking them up. It's all so that I can rush into my day feeling successful because no one's there to pat me on the back. No one's there but myself.
Yes.
So I can rush into my day feeling successful instead of rushing into my day feeling stressed, like what is coming next. I already know what's coming next. And if something comes in that I wasn't expecting, then I'm able to say, I've got this, I can do this, and react in a way that I can move forward instead of sitting in the muck.
Love that. So creating success on your own terms and feeling like you've been successful because you get to make the rules up. You get to choose what that looks like. And if that means it's less stressful and you do all the things and you don't feel like you're rushing around, then that's a big win. But we often don't pause or stop to think about the wins because we have so many every single day. Like sometimes you are only up for a very short period of time, but you feel like you have been round and roundabouts and you have done so much stuff because of what you've had to deal with. And we're not very good at giving ourselves credit, but I think we have to turn this around. And as you say, there's nobody to say, oh, well done, pat us on the back. And we need to be our own cheerleaders to a level that we have never witnessed anybody do for us. Because if we can't do that for ourselves, then nobody else will either. So I love how you raised that because it really resonates. And, there just isn't anybody noticing all the things. We are. So why don't we just be cheerleading ourselves? What do you think?
Yeah. And, this comes down to many of us have a to-do list, right? So I call mine the tonight for tomorrow list. It's still a list. I love to check things off. I even like to write things on the list to check off because it gives me this sense of accomplishment, right? So I heard this from, I can't remember who it was from. It was a coach that I listened to in a training. And she said, if you feel overwhelmed with your to-do list, turn it into a ta-da list. And the reason was, she said, instead of writing down everything that you have to do today, you can also keep that other side and you can say, these are the things that I have done today that have made an impact. So you look at that and you say, you know what? The average person does not get half of this done.
Yes.
Who is it that I am comparing myself to?
Mhm.
And the only comparison we have is to our best versions of ourselves. So anything short of that is, not giving ourselves enough credit.
Yeah. It's just not fair, is it, to
It's not
compare
fair.
yourself to anybody else? Absolutely. Could not agree with you more on that. So what advice would you give perhaps around the sort of building your business with boundaries that, what has that meant for you and how you have brought that into your life? Building your business with boundaries, because I know you're like a super busy woman. You have got so much going on. So please share some value here in terms of how you've gone through that, because it is a bit of a process, isn't it? We're always trying to get better at things. We never ever get it perfect, and nor should we be looking for perfection. So how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So not only that tonight for tomorrow list helps me with that. So I use a Google Calendar so that I have colored time blocking. That's huge for me. And the thing about that is that I can look at that calendar and I color code everything. So I can say, okay, how much time am I spending at the restaurant? And am I getting things done while I'm there? Because about 2 years into me having my own business, my old general manager I shouldn't call him old, past general manager. We always joke because we're 10 years apart. So my past general manager of the restaurant that I started in when I was 16 said, hey, I'm buying the old restaurant. Are you interested in being an operating partner? And I remember my first initial feeling was, I am not going to go back as the general manager because then I'm moving backwards. But yes, I will join in as an operating partner. And I knew, because now I had the two small girls. At the time, they were 4 and 7. And I said, I know I'm going to have to be more protective of my time. I'm going to have boundaries. And I also failed at it for the first 6 months, horribly. And I really had to step back and say, have I put myself, again, leadership decision, have I put myself in a position that I am now the general manager again, or am I an owner? And those look very different. The decision making is different. The coaching is different. My time in the building is different. And I just had to decide, this is what I want this to look like. How do I make that happen? And boundaries were a big deal for that.
Yeah. It's
And
huge.
continue to be.
Yeah,
Continue
of
to be.
course. Yeah.
Mhm.
And when you have even more on your plate, it becomes even more important to have those clearly defined so that, you have all the pockets of time that you have are being used in the most effective way. So, and I love how you said there's that difference. Maybe we can talk about that, being like a manager and being the owner. What do you see there as being maybe sort of common things that become like pitfalls for people and they fall down almost like into this spiral, isn't it? That, they get dragged down when they don't need to. But I think awareness is always the first thing to actually realize that this is happening. So is there anything you'd like to share with the sort of differences between them and what people could recognize?
I think the biggest word that you used there is awareness. I think we all have to stop. I do something called Set It Up Sunday, where I look at my week ahead, and that allows me to really be present in how much am I spending in each area. And if I'm in the restaurant, am I in there by myself managing a shift? Or am I in there with another one of the people that are on my team so that I'm coaching and training and discussing and asking questions? And
Mhm.
so, do I have a purpose for being there? And
Yeah.
that's kind of the difference between that ownership piece and the management piece. Is when I run a shift by myself, I'm just clockwork, making things happen. I can win and it's easy, and I know that. When I'm there with someone else, how do I teach them to win? So that when a hard question comes up, I don't get a phone call. Hey, the gas line's not working. What do I do? Right? Well, what do you think that you should do? At this point now, I have a couple management members that I just don't get those phone calls anymore. So then it for a moment, it created oh my gosh, am I not supporting them? Am I not there for them? And I had to go, no, I've supported them so much that now they know what to do.
Okay.
Now I'm in ownership space.
Wow, that's such a big shift. That's incredible because when there's a bit of a pause and there's nothing happening, we can often feel like we're not supporting people, whether that's our kids, whether that's in our business, whether it's any help we're getting in our business, anything, or with clients. But
Mhm.
maybe that's not your role to be constantly like, if we empower them in the right way to make the right decisions at the right time, and then we're there for them to support and guide them, that's a completely different model, isn't it?
Well, and it's almost just like, I share this a lot in my podcast as well, is are you teaching your team that you are a resource, or are you teaching them to be resourceful?
Mm.
So now they're not always coming to me with, oh, I have this problem. It's like I'm a firefighter putting out fires. Instead, they're coming to me with this problem and saying, this is a situation we have coming up. Here are three possible solutions. This is what I think we should do. In a lot of cases, are there times that I would say, I might do it a little differently? What's going to hurt? Let them
Yeah,
do it their way and test it
yeah,
out. That's how they learn.
yeah, exactly. And let them have that space to try things because they don't have to seek permission every time because they get to a certain level where you can then take that. The same goes for kids, isn't it? We have to let them try things in our world. And as they get older and older, we have to sort of create, it's that balance again of, having like enough interaction with each other to know that you're there, but you're not in their face and you're not pushing and pushing. You have to be like handling it in a two-way manner so that they can come to you equally, but you can leave them alone to try and reflect. And I think that that's so important in business too. And for those who might be further on in their journey and they are delegating, that becomes quite a difficult thing then. But mostly my listeners are kind of solopreneurs, so they're dealing with everything. So I think with the kind of mum context, they probably understand that better. So thank you so much for sharing. There's been so many like things that you have said that, it's the same challenges, isn't it? Different business
Mhm.
model, different types of things. But I love how you bring leadership like into our day. And
Mhm.
it's about everybody stepping into their leading roles and taking charge, taking control, and taking responsibility that they can create a bigger impact. At the end of the day, that is what leadership will do.
And I
Um,
think just, one simple thing that people can do is
mhm.
change the energy when they walk into the room. Walk
Yeah,
into that room, and instead of saying, "Oh, here I am," we say, "Oh, there you are. What can I do to serve this person right now who's in front of me and I can best support that person?" And asking lots of questions.
yeah. And losing expectations, isn't it? Because,
Mhm.
like how you explained that you and I met, it was literally like we met and over a couple of days, we've both done podcast swaps now, which is amazing. But,
Yes.
things like that don't happen if we don't take that action and do the next thing, follow up and meet and sort of push ourselves. And that is being a leader because we could have just left it and one of us could have been like, I'll not bother replying, or I'm busy. And we have to sometimes prioritize things and give them all enough focus, because that's what we're here for, to help more people. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you so much, Trian, for being here. I would love to know like how you help your clients, and if you've got anything you want to share with how people can find you.
Sure. So I would probably first off share my link tree with you guys, because I think everybody's in a different spot in their leadership journey. And on there, I have some free resources to get started. And then I also have a couple very easy courses to take. One of them specifically is called Refocus, and kind of where we were talking about just that awareness of like, where am I at? Where do I want to be? And this is probably the biggest work that I do with my clients is, where am I at? Where
Mhm.
do I want to be? We're filling in that gap. And to your point, I'm leading by taking action. It's
Yeah.
not just because Trienne told me to, it's because I told her that's what I wanted. And I decided that that's what I need to do to get there. So it's putting that accountability back onto their plate, because the last thing that I want, of course, I would love to work with my clients forever because they're amazing people. But at some point, I don't want them to feel dependent upon my choices or what I'm doing in order to see success in themselves. We're empowering people to make these choices. And that's the biggest for me, is to really, how do you show up as a leader in your life, voice it, act as it, be it, create it if you don't see it around you.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a great way to end the podcast. That's amazing. So many golden tips there. Thank you so much, Jen, for being here and sharing your wisdom. I will get this podcast out, I'm sure, very quick, and put the links into the description. So please do watch out for those and check out Jen's lovely resources.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to collab in the future too.